person than myself.
Okay, I had a PowerPoint presentation prepared,
You
but
sent me one slide.
I was fearing the PowerPoint backlash. so I guess I'm just going to wing it. Basically, I'd like to drill down, for the most part, on issues that were raised by Gus. Talk about a group of people that I'm going to call the quote-unquote mindfully discontent Vermonters. Now, I'll define mindfully discontent as people that are doing critical thinking about our most important issues, as opposed to just being spoon-fed information and without processing it, accepting it. And so I say that the number of mindfully discontent Vermonters at this moment is a great number. I mean, we'll throw out some sort of figure, 30, 40, 50% of us, okay? Now, regarding what I'll call the big ticket issues, the issues that are shaping our present and our future in a big way, the immoral and expensive wars, the hijacking of the monetary system by Wall Street, and the subsequent bailouts and expenditures. Did anyone see the release of the Federal Reserve papers the other day where $12 trillion we now find?
12.3.
$12.3 trillion was lent out by the Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury, most of which was done in an unaccountable way. Without
what, are we the central bank for the whole world now?
without any oversight by Congress whatsoever. Which is crazy, obviously. Anyway, continuing on, the healthcare system, which is almost irreparably broken as it is, where we pay nearly twice as much for healthcare as any other developed nation, and the money goes into the pockets of lawyers and drug companies and HMOs. The continuing erosion of our constitutional rights and liberties. Now, all of these issues that are important to us here in this room, it just so happens that I would say that 90% plus of these people that we're going to call mindfully discontent Vermonters, they're all on the same sides of all of these issues. I mean, who do you talk to that's thinking that still supports these wars? That's supporting the maneuvers that are being made by the Federal Reserve? I mean, who's thinking that's coming to these conclusions? So you would think that in 2010 there would be a large amount of backlash from these mindfully discontent Vermonters against the Democratic and Republican parties, who, for the most part, are in wholehearted support of maintaining the wars. You know, who have appointed these people to the Treasury, who reappointed Ben Bernanke. But yet, we see on the 2010 election, despite the noble efforts of people like Peter and Dennis, that there was almost no backlash, or it was very minimal. Now, how can that be the case, and what can be done about it? This is the biggest question that's facing us in this room, I think. I agree with Gus on this point. Now, I studied under a professor of macroeconomics at Harvard named Thomas Schelling, who built something called the tipping model, which I think is a good description of the position that we're in right now. And the best way I can describe the tipping model in a real-world practical example is, consider if you're a college student and you want to have a keg party. Now, keg parties, from my own personal experience, have sort of two possible outcomes. There's one where, you know, you have a few people sitting in a room drinking a keg, your girlfriend, your friends, a couple people on your floor, and, you know, like, people will walk by in this state of the party. You know, we'll call those people quote-unquote early adopters. People walk by, they see this party, there's nothing going on, right? And most people are just, you know, there's nothing going on, let's go find the next thing to do. However, if you can convince the next 20 people that come into the room, that come by, that, hey, there's something interesting going on, and you get to a critical mass, 30, 35 people, then you're going exponential. Then you're 150 people, the roof's coming off your place, and you're not concerned about your party, you're more concerned about dealing with the police. So, again, this tipping model describes this dichotomy, describes, in fact, the way I think even independent political movements happen. You know, here we are in the phase of what we'll call the early adopters phase. The people in this room, we're going to the keg party, you know, we're going to be there, thick or thin. But where we are is we're in an impasse where we need to get from there to the point where the party is interesting enough to get the people that are walking by the party to be interested. Through this, what I'll call chasm period, you know, and to the spot where this movement becomes something that's interesting enough to garner the support of these mindfully discontent Vermonters. Now, a lot of these people that you'll speak to, even though they are paying attention to what's going on, they're completely disengaged. I don't know if any of you know the Dubnotic Secessionist song. There's a second verse, and there goes, I've been mired in futility due to our collective debility, paralyzed by the magnitude, a disenfranchised absentee, but paralyzed by the magnitude, I think describes the great majority of these people, you know? I'm totally upset and frustrated with what's going on, but what can I do? I mean, my actions are futile. Why would I act? And so they sit and watch in frustration and sometimes in guilt. So the question becomes, what do we do? What can be done about this? Having spoken at great length with some of you here, having talked to Matthew, our idea is this, is to be able to garner the energies en masse of these mindfully discontent folks. You know, most of the people in this room we would call secessionists, you know, myself included. But I don't think at this point, like Gus was mentioning, that while this is our focus politically, we'll all meet together as secessionists. The main problem we need to deal with right now is what Rob described in one of our emails as building bridges. Building bridges across this chasm. So we're going from the early adopter period to the point where we can start to collectively put these people, all of these mindfully discontent people, in a block, and therefore have influence and make a real difference. So the organization that Matthew and I are talking about, my part of it would be, it's sort of a dual-purpose organization. One is to speak about a lot of these issues that are plaguing us and rally around a lot of these important causes and organize. And the other one is a social activist organization, which is called Local Action Now. And what this group is going to be focused on, this is going to be a group that's, you know, got a state committee and then what we'll call cells at the county-wide level. And the cells at the county-wide level are going to be matching local resources, in most cases, especially in the beginning, in the form of labor, to local problems. Now, what would some of those local problems be? Well, these are going to be decided at the county level. These are not going to be dictated by this group at the state level that's, you know, that's overseeing everything. But I would guess that in 2011, soon, we're going to start seeing this sort of austerity that's being promoted in places like Ireland or Portugal, where, you know, Congress is going to come to us and say, well, you know, we've been told that we're spending too much money, we have too much debt, you know, the budget gap is too big, we need to start doing things, we need to start cutting things. Will we be cutting military spending? No. Will we be cutting bailouts to the Wall Street banks? No. What we'll be cutting are the important essential programs, like educational programs, for instance. And there's going to be some sort of void that needs to be filled in this case. You know, for instance, say you have an educational cut where an after-school program that's essential to the community is eliminated. Well, this group is going to come and try to step in with our labor. In that sort of problem, or any sort of situation where we think that, again, we can match labor resources of all of these mindfully discontent people that I, Matt, and probably all of you know, people that want to get involved, people that want to do something, people that know that we need to make a change now, but have no idea what to do. So again, the statewide committee will be made up mostly of what I'll call facilitators,